Hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you'll click below and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new True Crime Tuesday, and my other videos as well. I upload on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday or Sunday, depending on how my crappy satellite internet acts. So today's story is a rough one, and I feel like I have to tell you that it is also about children. So if you're sensitive to that, just know ahead of time that it is going to be about the death of children. If you're not sensitive to that, you might have something wrong with you. Just saying. But anyway, I feel like I need to do this. So here's a warning. The following video contains some pictures and information that viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. So without any further delay, let's get into this story because it's a doozy. A little bit of backstory on Darlie Routier, and that's spelled R-O-U-T-I-E-R, but it's pronounced Routier. Darlie was born in August of 1970 in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and later relocated to Lubbock, Texas with her mother, who is also named Darlie, her sister and stepfather. And her mother went to work at the Western Sizzlin in Lubbock, and she met Darren Routier there. And the story goes that Darren says, "I hear you have a beautiful daughter." And she says, "Yes, I have a beautiful daughter." And Darlie and Darren are introduced, and they marry in August of 1988. They started dating when Darlie was 15 and Darren was 17, and then they married 3 years later when Darlie was 18. So, Darren and Darlie started their own company. They made, I think it was kind of a computer component, and they tested them and built them in their home. And they're saying, what they said, they moved to a suburb of Dallas called RYLEIGH, which was a really very prominent area. They bought a very expensive home, a 30-foot cabin cruiser, and Darren bought a Jaguar. It is also said that Darlie was a materialistic woman. She had a lot of jewelry, a lot of clothes. She bleached her hair and had a boob job. Well, I'm quite sure that she's not the first young woman to ever come into money and have a boob job. Anyway, but later on, the prosecution will contend that this information is important, but I digress. So, close your eyes and picture this. It's a Thursday night, June the 6th, 1996. Darlie and Darren have 3 beautiful boys. They have Drake, 7 months old, Damon, who is 5 years old, and Devon, who is 6, almost 7. School is out, and Damon and Devon decide that they want to have a bit of a sleepover situation. So Mom decides to sleep on the couch in the family room. The boys make a pallet on the floor, and it is said that they fall asleep with the TV on. Now, Darlie is awakened sometime after 2 a.m. She is awakened by her son Damon standing at her side, bloody, asking for help. And Darlie says when she woke up and saw her son, she saw the outline of an intruder dressed in black leaving their home. She heard glass breaking. She heard the vacuum cleaner tump over. And then she is kind of awake enough to realize what's going on. And she screams for her husband, Darren. Darren heads down the stairs. Darlie picks up the phone and dials 911. Okay. Now what happens for the next 6 minutes while Darlie is on the phone with 911 becomes extremely important to both the prosecution and the defense's case. And these are some of the things that came up in the 911 call. Very, very chaotic, to say the least. But Darlie tells the 911 operator that an intruder has come into her home, stabbed her children. Her children are dead and dying. Hurry. Her husband, Darren, is now on the scene. They are both grabbing towels from the kitchen, trying to stop the blood. The report is that 6-year-old Devon was presumed dead on the scene. He was lying face up with his eyes open and was unresponsive. Damon, on the other hand, was face down, and it is heard on the 911 call that Darlie is saying to Damon, hang on, baby. And she also asks the 911 operator, where is the ambulance? Please hurry. What is taking so long? So, the first 2 officers on the scene dispute this information. They say that Darlie was very unconcerned about her children, that Darlie did not try to help her children, but that is in direct conflict with what you hear on the 911 call. Now, I'm going to tell y'all ahead of time, I have seen many shows about this program. I have watched many hours of footage on YouTube, and I have read a lot. She was frantic on the 911 call. She was absolutely frantic. And there is one subject that came up that the prosecution tried to say was strange. But they're only playing one part of this 911 tape. But the 911 operator asks Darlie if she touched anything. And that's when Darlie says, yes, I touched the knife. And Darlie starts saying something to the effect of, maybe I messed up the prints, or something to that effect. The prosecution says, what mother who is standing there with her dying children would even think about fingerprints on the knife that possibly killed her children? All right, so this is a bone of contention between the defense and the prosecution. All right, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm sorry, I'm still very new at telling these stories. And on top of that, this story to me is so compelling, and there's so much information out there. I mean, I had to take notes on this story. I haven't done that so far, but I don't want to mess anything up. So, backing up to the night of the 6th, Damon and Darlie are taken to Baylor University Hospital. Damon dies en route with the paramedics. Darlie makes it to the hospital where she undergoes exploratory surgery to repair a neck wound that the medical personnel said missed her carotid artery by 2 millimeters. All right, 2 millimeters, I will show you right here on the screen how much 2 millimeters is. Darlie also, and these pictures are rather gruesome, Darlie also had serious bruising up and down both of her arms, and she was not in good shape. But she had the surgery and was well enough to be released, and she was released from the hospital on June the 8th. Devon and Damon were buried on June the 9th. They said over 400 mourners came to say goodbye to Devon and Damon. I'm just going to stop right there because I can't begin to imagine what this 26 and 28-year-old mother and father of 3, what it must have been like for them to pick out a casket. They buried them together. Pick out a casket and make funeral arrangements for their 5- and 6-year-old children while they have a 7-month-old left behind, and they still don't know what in the hell happened. I cannot even imagine what these people were going through. June the 9th, the children were buried. And on June the 14th, that would have been Devon's 7th birthday. Now, it is said that Devon's birthday invitations had already gone out. The party was planned, and they decided to go to the graveside. They had a private 2-hour memorial with family only at the graveside. This was not videoed. This was not covered by the media. But immediately afterwards, the family gathered at the gravesite with balloons and other birthday memento type things, and sang happy birthday to Devon. And then the silly string came out. Now, I can show you some pictures of Darlie. She's smiling. She's shooting the silly string. And chewing her gum. And looking quite happy. The media come along and they interview Darlie and Darren. And Darlie, who I have not said up until now, has a very, very childlike voice. And she says in her very childlike voice, you know, Devon and Damon would not want us to be sad. There were some other things said very similar to that, but she was explaining why they had the little party. Be right back. Let me start by saying that the silly string incident, as it comes to be known, the silly string incident is where the crap hit the fan for the Assistant District Attorney, Greg Davis. He pretty much saw that and he lost it. And when I say he lost it, he lost it. This man was so passionate about this case, which, you know, you gotta be pretty heartless for something like this to not get to you. And I do realize that you have to remain objective as law enforcement. You can't make arrests based on your feelings. You have to have evidence to back it up. But Greg Davis was determined. So the silly string incident happened on June 14th. On June 18th, Darren and Darlie were called in for further questioning, and Darren was released and Darlie was arrested. Darlie was arrested on 2 counts. I think, I might be wrong, she might have just been arrested on 1 count. Anyway, she was arrested on capital murder for the murder of Devon and Damon. From day one, Darren supported her. He never once believed that Darlie was guilty. Darlie's mother and family also supported her. But there were a lot of people in RYLEIGH and the surrounding areas that did not. Now, here's what the prosecution contended. They contended that Darlie was a very spoiled, very materialistic young woman who had found her meal ticket with Darren, had enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle, and did not want to give that up. And it is said that the kids were cramping her style, so to speak. that they were taking up too much of her time, and that they were also taking too much of the money. Darlie was painted as a very materialistic woman who liked her jewelry, liked her stuff, anyway, blah, blah, blah. All right, here's the prosecution's case. The 911 call, the blood evidence, they said that the furniture and vacuum cleaner that the intruder supposedly knocked over broke glass, and under that glass was Darlie's blood. And there was no way that Darlie's blood could have been under that glass, because Darlie was injured in the family room and had not been in that room until after the intruder was on his way out. So that was one thing. The second thing that I have heard is that the luminol testing showed a cleanup of Darlie's blood around the sink area, and I'll tell you why that's important in just a minute. The other thing is they did not find any evidence of the intruder. What they found was the screen was cut in the utility room, but they found a bread knife in the butcher block that had wood and metal shavings on it that matched the screen in the utility room. They also could prove that the murder weapon came from the Routier kitchen. So if an intruder did come in, they did not bring a weapon with them. There were valuables left in plain sight that were not touched. There was no robbery to speak of. So if Darlie interrupted a burglary in progress, which the defense said, could have happened. Anyway, there was nothing stolen. The prosecution also found Darlie's diaries, and in those diaries there were entries where she discusses things like her unhappiness and not feeling like she was missing out on things. Anyway, it showed that Darlie had postpartum depression. And then her behavior altogether, the silly string incident, there were witnesses at the hospital that said she did not cry, that she did not show any kind of sadness or anything like that, that she did not appear to be a grieving mother. All right, so we've got the defense has got to dispute all this, right? Hold on, I forgot my lipstick. All right, and the last thing that I forgot to say is that the prosecution also alleged a financial motive for why Darlie killed the children. And there was a life insurance policy on each of the boys, but the funeral costs ended up being more than what they received from life insurance. So that's kind of not much of a motive. So here's what the defense says. Darlie does take the stand in her own defense. And she says that she never contends that she did not kill the children, but she has no memory of it. And neither she nor anyone in her family, nor her husband, nor anyone close to her believed that she could have in any way done this. They say the financial motive is stupid, even though people said they were living beyond their means. They had plenty of money. The business was still successful. You know, that was not a motive. That Darlie wasn't doing without anything. There was evidence to dispute some of the prosecution's theories. There were 3 fingerprints found in the house that did not belong to anyone in the house, which were suspicious because they could not say where these 3 fingerprints came from. There was also a sock found it was a few blocks away, but they said it was probably the distance of about 2 football fields. It was one of Darren's athletic socks, and it had Damon and Devon's blood on it. All right, so here's what the defense is saying. The defense is saying Darlie would have had to stab the children multiple times, get up, get a sock, put their blood on it, run 2 football fields away, come back, stand at the sink, slit her throat, miss her carotid artery by 2 millimeters, wipe up the blood, knock over some glassware in the vacuum cleaner, then scream for her husband and call 911. So the defense says it's a ludicrous notion. It didn't happen. There was an intruder. We just don't know who it was. Well, in February of 1997, Darlie was found guilty of capital murder for the murder of 5-year-old Damon. Now, why she was not tried for them both, I'm not sure. I think, I guess they could only try her for one at a time, and they would have had the exact same evidence to try her for the murder of Devon, and she already got the death penalty for Damon, so I guess that's why she wasn't tried again. And y'all, I don't know where I stand. And I'll tell you why. There is a true crime author by the name of Barbara Davis who wrote a book called Precious Angels about the murder. And she wrote the book, I believe, in 1999. She wrote the book. And in 2015, she came back and said everything that she wrote in the book was wrong, that Darlie was innocent, she believed her innocent, and she was going to help prove her innocent and get her off of death row. Now, so far, Darlie has not received a break at all. She's been over 20 years on death row. She has not, none of her appeals have gotten her anywhere. Darren divorced her in 1997. No, that's not right. 2011, excuse me. He divorced her in 2011 only because he said they were living in limbo, but it did not change the fact that he believed that she was innocent. Y'all, I don't know where I stand on this. The one thing that gets me, I guess, more than anything, and makes me believe that she could be guilty is, number one, there is no evidence, none, of an intruder. They cannot find anything to link, there's no evidence that links to a particular person. So they don't have anyone else to accuse. And the other thing is, what she said was, if I did it, I don't remember. Everything they asked her about the crime, she did not remember. Which, to me, tells you everything you need to know. Just because she doesn't remember doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I also find it very suspicious that her husband was upstairs asleep and never heard anything. I don't know. Strange case. But anyway, if you're interested in this case, there's, and I know I left plenty out and I was probably all over the place, but there's so much information out there about this case. But I find this case so sad, just so very sad. But it's so intriguing that this woman, to this day, proclaims her innocence, even though she has no true memory of what happened to her children. Her children would be pushing 30 right now. That's crazy. That's just crazy. But anyway, that is the sad, sad case. And I'm not going to say that this is the case of Darlie Routier. This is the case of Damon and Devon Routier. Sad. Very, very sad. But I hope you enjoyed today's story. I've already started doing my research for next week. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful and not too haunted. This story has haunted me for years, and I hope that it doesn't haunt you the same way. But anyway, I hope you have a blessed and beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, I love you. Bye.